Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Athletes Are Human First podcast. I have a very special guest with me today. I'm going to let her introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Madeline Bister. I'm a senior at Cal State East Bay, and I play on the women's soccer team.
Welcome to the show. Tell me a little bit about how soccer is going for you in college.
My total experience,
Yep.
it's it's been pretty much a whole bunch of lows and highs. Not playing and then playing 90 minutes and then not playing again. I've had the whole roller coaster, but overall it's a huge growth experience and I'm very thankful for how it's gone and how I've dealt with what has gone on.
So tell me a little bit about, obviously you've had some injuries. Talk a little bit about that and kind of the timeline of those.
Okay, bear with me here. So in high school, 2021 was when I was a junior going into my senior year, and I tore my ACL. I tore my ACL, my MCL, and my meniscus. And I had two surgeries that year because of complications. I didn't do my physical therapy right. And so I had to get another surgery later on. So come recruiting, I had no offers because unfortunately, when colleges see that a high school athlete is injured, they see it as damaged goods, is what I like to say,
Yep.
but that's not the politically correct term.
Yep.
So I had zero offers. But fortunately, for my sake, the one place that I did want to go did offer me, and that was East Bay.
Okay.
And I had a great meeting with the coaches. It was great. Um, and so I went into my first year injured. I redshirted. So that was really tough, especially since the team travels a lot. Preseason travels, Hawaii. I unfortunately had to miss that one. I had to tell myself Hayward is the new Hawaii. That's okay. Um, and that was a little rough. But come my sophomore and junior year, I started playing a lot and I kind of got my groove back after 2 years of not playing. And I don't know if you know, but 2 years of not playing, you are so rusty, unbelievably rusty. Like that was the worst. My first game back was the worst game of my entire life. I like it was so bad. And I actually switched positions, so that was great. I went from a center back to a six, which is just a defensive midfielder. Um, it's very different in terms of fitness, and so I had to get my SHIT together. I had to get it together. Um, and then come my senior year now, I tore it again. I actually tore it in my junior year last year. Um, and I tore everything again. I just had my third surgery April 30th, and then I have my fourth one in December. So unfortunately, I'm not done yet, but it's a big process.
So talk about, okay, so high school, junior year, you tear. And so obviously your dreams were to play college soccer. What's going through your mind at that point when you get hurt? Are you thinking soccer is done for you, or you're like, no, I know I'm going to rehab, I'm going to get back, I know I'm going to play college soccer?
I, what was going through my head was, am I ever gonna play again? Like I was sitting, and this was 2021, so this was right after COVID, kind of still in the middle of it. So I still wore my mask. I had my turtle mask on. I was sitting in the office in the wheelchair right after I had my jersey on. I had everything on because I just came from a game. And I was told it was a knee sprain, but I know for a fact it wasn't that. And I was just sitting there like, wow, I don't know what's going on. And I feel so lost. And I don't even know if I'm going to play soccer anymore. I was just sitting in the chair. I remember that was so scary. And then I remember getting the news. And that's kind of when it all put it into perspective of, okay, I did something really bad to my knee. And that timeline is really long. And my only dream for soccer was to play college soccer. I wasn't thinking about pro. All I was thinking about was college soccer.
Yeah.
And I realized that once I started in my recruiting process, so later on that year, I started a little late. Um, no one was picking up. And I started to have the slightest thought of maybe I have to go somewhere where I don't play, or maybe I have to go to a junior college, rehab my knee, and then transfer out. Very likely, I was very committed to going to Folsom Lake.
Okay.
I was I was thinking about it. I even talked with the coach. He was interested, and I thought that would have been the route for me, but I did think that soccer was done. Um, and I still even have that thought now. It's hard not to when you have
Mhm.
so many surgeries. But I just, I don't know. It was such a weird feeling. Like you just like everything that you've worked your whole life for. I started when I was 3 or 4, and then I quit for a year, and then I kept through it ever since. And that's 2/3 of your life that you spend doing one thing. And when that's taken away, it sounds so cliche, but you put your identity towards it and you have no idea what to do.
Mhm.
And if your parents aren't in the sports realm, so like my parents never played college sports, and so they helped me as best as they could, but they didn't know. And so I had no one to talk to. I had my club, but my club, my team they all were committed to a school very early on.
Yeah.
So I felt very alone. Like no one had gone through what I had gone through.
Yeah.
They, but I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so then the thought goes, okay, maybe go to JUCO, which Folsom Lake is amazing. They have an amazing
Yeah.
soccer program there, in the state, obviously. But then you decide, so like, what's your, you decide to go to East Bay. I mean, what's motivating you to just keep going through rehab? Because for 2 years, that's a long time, right? To be able to try to rehab, making sure that you can get right. Like, what's motivating you through your senior year, through your freshman year in college? How do you stay motivated to keep working and keep fighting to eventually one day be able to play again?
Um, I definitely didn't know the answer to that,
Mhm.
but I have more of an answer after I talked with my surgeon, actually, because at a couple times I did think, why am I, what's the point? I'm not wanting to go professional. And so I guess for some reason I put this thing in my mind that like if you don't go professional, it doesn't matter, which is so false.
Mhm.
But I felt that until I spoke with my surgeon, and he was so committed to getting me back to playing. And he was actually the one that said, you are going to get back. I know you are. And you only get college soccer like for 4 or 5 years of your life, and you will never get it again. You can obviously get like semi-pro teams, and you can get recreational soccer and Sunday leagues, and those are always so fun. But NCAA only is 4 to 5 years. Even my PT said if I were you, I would take it because you're young, you are easily like you can bounce back quicker than someone older, right? Your bones are like
Yep.
your bones are just healthier, okay? And both my PT and my surgeon were saying if you have the ability to do it, which you do, then take it because you don't always get this opportunity to do it. And there's like a small percentage of people that actually get to go to college sports to play their sport, and that's huge.
Mhm.
And I guess I thought there was more of an importance of like stats or how I don't know how well known you are, but really what's important is if you really like what you're doing, then keep doing it.
Mhm.
And I really like staying fit. I really like playing soccer. I like the joy it gives me, even though some days it's not as fun, but it's all something that drives me. It's what I want to do. So that's kind of like my motivation.
So sophomore year, after 2 years of rehab recovery,
Mhm.
to get back on the field. You say the first one was just really tough. But I mean, talk to me, what's going through your mind now that you're finally back on the field after 2 years of now playing college soccer? This, the little you always dreamed of playing college soccer. You finally get that opportunity. Talk me through that moment.
Oh, I was so nervous. It's like I had relearned how to play soccer all over again, but I relearned it so it's like I was learning a foreign language and I had my first speaking test. Like I was so shocked. I didn't know what to do. And
Mhm.
I remember that first game and it was against Las Positas Junior College. It was in spring of 2023. And my coach told me afterwards, that was the worst game I have seen you play. And I said, that is so true. But it wasn't a fact of, it wasn't like, oh, you are terrible, you're a terrible player, and we're going to cut you from the team. It was more so, wow, we have a lot of growth.
Mhm.
We have a lot of room to improve. We, and they took a chance on me and it was great, but they took a really big chance because after you lose your skills, after you lose stuff for 2 years, like it takes a while to recover. It does happen because it does happen. I got back in fall and I was playing much better. But the first 4 games of that spring, honestly, I was just trying to, like, everyone was here, and I was just trying to get somewhere near them to where I could compete and
Yep.
feel confident in myself. And confidence was a really big thing for me. That actually was something that I was journaling about every day because I couldn't trust myself. I couldn't trust what my abilities were. And then that led to being inconsistent on the field. And I knew that. I knew that in here, but nothing was connected at that time. So that was a really hard thing to go through.
Yeah. I mean, and then so talk about like, sophomore, junior season, talk a little bit about that experience of actually getting to play and after the rest kind of, you get back into the groove of things, talk about, being able to actually play again.
Best experience of my life, actually, and I'm very glad that I transformed into a different position because my skills and my knowledge actually showed better
Yeah.
in those positions than in what I had before. And so I was a center back before, and then I was still a center back in those first 4 games. So come fall, I just got pushed into a new position. So that was like my immediate first time playing a new position. And that was me relearn the whole fall was me learning how to have 360 vision and how to speak on the field and communicate effectively. And it it took a lot of it took a lot of mistakes, but honestly, when you find your position, you just like you meld into it. Like if you're meant to be, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And I was meant to be a 6, and I understood the roles and responsibilities a little bit quicker for some reason. And I was playing. My coaches were trusting me to play, and I was obviously making a ton of mistakes, but I was immediately kind of like I was like a sponge. I took in all of it and kind of fixed it pretty quickly to get my teammates to understand like, oh, I can actually put forth the work and show that instead of just listening but not doing. And that was, I mean, my sophomore year, my freshman year, my team had gotten last place, and that was when I didn't play. So that was really hard it was just a hard overall as a team. And then the next year, which is my sophomore year, we got 7th, which was a jump, which was great. We put forth a lot of effort. And then last year, which is my junior year, we got 2nd and we lost in the championships of our conference, but we worked so hard. And so being able to be a part of that was something bigger than I could have ever imagined. That was like we worked so hard for that and then we got the results that we wanted. Obviously not at the end, but that felt so good to be like, oh, wow, I don't know if I would have gotten that if I were to be a center back, and I'm right where I need to be, and I'm still learning every game, but I'm being on the field with my teammates and I get to connect like that. That was amazing. I no notes. That was great.
Yeah, I mean, talk about like obviously, freshman year, how hard is it to just kind of watch from the sidelines? I mean, I know I think as most people, most athletes kind of know, but I don't think people who are outside of it truly know how hard that is.
Yeah.
Talk a
Uh,
little bit.
For sure. It's it's I don't even know how to describe it other than you don't know until you're in it, but it's terrible.
Mhm.
And obviously, it's great because you can learn so much from actually seeing. And I know that when I would be taken out sometimes, my coaches would say a coaching point, and I wouldn't get it in my head. But then I'd see it play out in the field, and I'd sit there and think, oh, that's what she meant. So I learn a lot from being on the bench. I learn a lot from being on the sidelines. And my roles have shifted to where I am kind of there as support for the team, but I'm also there to recognize the faults and to communicate that with the team and be like, hey, maybe you should check your shoulder here. Maybe you should, I see this, maybe you should do this. But just getting up every day is really hard. And it's getting even harder knowing that unfortunately I have another surgery. So, as a freshman and now as a senior, there are very similar things that I'm going through
Mhm.
in terms of just I want to be a part of everyone. I feel like I can't. I feel like I'm an outsider.
Yeah.
And when people go on these travel trips and they come back with all these memories and I have no idea what just happened,
Mhm.
as a young kid, like that can make you feel really isolated.
Yeah.
Like it's an inside joke that you're not a part of. And I hate that feeling.
Yeah.
That is the worst feeling. And I felt like that the entire season. And my teammates did a really good job at keeping me supported as much as they could, but it wasn't all on them. It was just internal. I just felt pushed away.
Mhm.
I mean, I still do, but that's no one's fault. It's just the realities of being injured, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's even if a team is trying to include you, there's still something that goes in your mind that's like, gosh, I just wish I was on that trip with them. Even if I didn't get to play, I just wish I got to travel with them. I
Yeah.
mean, that's one of the reasons why, for us at our college, even if you're hurt, you still travel with the team, right?
Really?
Yeah, so we still travel our kids because we still want them to be able to experience everything. Obviously, yeah, they want to play, but apart from that, they still get to go travel, they get to experience everything, they still get to see, and to your point, not miss out on some of the inside jokes, right? So like to still
Yeah.
really be a part of a program and try to avoid feeling isolated, right? Because it's hard, right? Imagine you're at you're back at on campus while everyone else is out posting pictures, stories, so that's one thing we do try to do is like we try to let anyone that's injured still travel with the team,
Oh,
unless they have to do like certain rehab type stuff or surgeries, stuff like that. But like anytime they get to travel, yeah, we're making them come with us too. If that means they got to
yeah.
bring crutches along, whatever they got to do, wheelchair, you're coming with us. And so, that's one thing that we definitely try to do for our athletes is make them feel still part of the team as much as possible. Talk to me about some memorable experiences your sophomore and junior year. I know one for sure I want to talk about, and I don't know if that's your favorite one, but talk about some memorable moments on the field sophomore, junior year.
Memorable moments. Okay. My is it my sophomore year? I think yeah, it was my sophomore year. I scored a goal. That was pretty big. That was pretty memorable because I'm more defensive minded and I possessed the ball. And so the one opportunity that I got that I just took, and it was a really, really long ball. My coaches actually had no idea that I was shooting it. They asked, "Oh, did you mean to do that?" I did. I actually did mean to do that. And it was raining. It was just a fun game. It wasn't our senior day, but it was some important game that I can't remember, but it my dad was there, my aunt was there, and my dad is my biggest supporter. So for him to finally see me, who used to be a forward when I was younger, who would score all the goals, and then
Mhm.
I switched to being a defender. So for him to see me score a goal, that was really big. And that was probably like highlight of that year.
Is this
Uh,
against Sonoma State?
yeah.
So this is game-winning goal too. We can put that part in there as well.
Was it? I maybe, I guess, yeah. I don't really all I remember, I'm so tunnel vision right now. All I remember is just scoring and like I got to my best friend was on the team, so I got to run up and obviously hug her and do the celebration. And I've never got to do that, so that was really, really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really cool, right? Because like being a defender or center or back like that, like you're not used to, you don't get opportunities to score, right? So that the fact that you have opportunity to score, and being that, coming off of injury, like to me, I thought that was gonna be the one that stood out to you, which is really cool, right? Just and then to experience it with your friends and then your family was there also, like those are the memories that you're gonna always remember. So that's really cool. Uh, okay, so injury. Uh, talk about so you just injured it again. How do you handle that? Because it's as we know, it's not easy, right?
Yeah.
What are some things that you're doing to help yourself go through this process to manage that, not only physically but even more importantly emotionally?
I'd say the first month or so of it happening, I was in denial.
Mhm.
As one is, obviously, it's worse, but you don't want to believe it, especially with the game that it was in, which was the semifinal game. Like, I don't want to believe that. Like, put me back on. I even got taped up. I got ready to go because I mean, I had spent time on the ground crying. I knew it was done, but my body didn't want it to be done. So I got taped. I was like, I'm ready. And I took my first jog and my knee gave out and I said, "Oh my God, it's happened again. It has happened again." And I think that was in Humboldt because that's where the championships were. And I remember sitting on the table and I just tears are like running down my face, running down my eyes, and I didn't want anyone to be near me, but I was just looking up and I knew it was over. I knew that part was over, so that was really hard. Um, but I guess I haven't fully gotten over it because I'm just not done with it. So I'm learning how to move forward with acceptance, which for me, acceptance is taking a while, but I've had great support with friends and I've leaned on them a lot. So I've leaned on my friends, I've leaned on my significant other and my family, especially, which I normally wouldn't do because I like to think that I can do everything on my own, and I can't. None of us can. Like we're human. We're not supposed to do it all on our own. If we could, then we'd be machines. I don't like there's a reason why like support is so needed because it helps. And I can sit here and talk like, oh, journaling helped me, but honestly, journaling hasn't been helping me that much. I haven't been able to motivate myself or push myself to journal like I used to because it just doesn't hit the same spot that it used to. And I have so many other stressors in my life that are like taking over, but what's helped me be grounded is this saying, and I like to call it an internship, but I don't, it's a partnership, it's an ambassadorship with the hidden opponent. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Yep.
Um, but basically, for that, we attend these live sessions with mental health therapists, with warriors who have done so much work in the mental health field, sports psychology field. And there was this one meeting with Dr. T, and he had said, "What is your signature statement?" And a signature statement is basically a phrase that you use on a daily basis. Like, what is going to help you get through? What phrase are you going to say to yourself when you look at yourself in the mirror that's going to help you get through the day? And mine was, "What's next?" And I actually coined that from my old college coach, shout out. But what's next for me is how am I going to respond to what's happening? So, how am I going to respond? What am I going to do now? Like, what am I going to do next? And if something bad happens, like let's say, right, I tore my ACL, like, what is next? That's PT. That's advocating for myself to get seen, to get an MRI. And then what's next? I'm gonna go through PT. I'm going to be intentional about my workouts. I'm going to move forward with um trying with resilience, but like what is next? Like how are you going to react? Because life doesn't stop. Unfortunately, life does not stop. And I've had a really hard time telling myself that. But life doesn't stop, and neither should you. But you should learn how to move forward. And so, what are you going to do about what's happening? What are you going to do about the things that are happening in your life? Like, I can't just, I know I've already been through this before. So, I have the knowledge of, oh, I can't sit around. I actually have to get strong. I have to go to the gym. I have to go work out. I have to do things when no one's looking. I have to go to work. And so how am I going to react to those things? Am I going to go work out with a bad attitude? No, because that's not going to help me get through. How am I going to work through my feeling of not wanting to work out, which happens a lot? So that phrase has really helped me a lot. Yeah.
That I love that. And I think you talk about having the support system around you, right? As much as most people do want to try to do it themselves, right? Oh, I'm fine. I don't need help. I don't need help. It's okay to ask for help, right? And it shouldn't be looked down upon. It shouldn't be like, oh wow, wow. They're always looking for help. No, you're going through something. You're gonna rely on your friends, your family, your significant other, to be there to support you, right? And it could be having conversations. It could just be them listening. It could be having them give advice. But you have to have a strong support system. And everyone that I've talked to that, is going through injuries is like, I had to find my support system. You have to figure out who that is that can help you through this time. Don't try to do it alone. Find someone that you can trust, that you can talk to, and find there's resources out there too, right? Sports psychologists that you can talk to, like they've helped numerous people, right? And I think there's been some colleges that have sports psychologists on campus where their athletes can go talk to them on a regular basis. Like that should
Mm.
be at every school. Every school should have access to that uh, because it's so important, right? No matter how good you think things are going, there's always gonna be times, sometime throughout the season, where things aren't going well, right? And I think that's just the reality of sports. But there should be resources available as an athlete to be able to talk to people about that and not be penalized for it and not be looked down upon for it. It's I just think every school should have something like that where they can talk to people and be open with how they're feeling, but also have resources to help them out as well.
I think I want to touch on a point that you said about finding the right people to support you, which is unbelievably true. Like, you through injury, there's a lot of people that are there on the first day, but who is gonna be there throughout the entire process? Because the first day of surgery, the first day of rehab, the first day you're out, everyone's gonna be there. But who is gonna stick with you throughout that and like constantly make sure that you're okay? That's your support system right there. Because unfortunately, some people don't have the time to help other people, and that's fine. That's totally fine. You can't rely on everybody to care about you, unfortunately. But the right people should care about you and should make that effort. And those are the people that you want to keep close within your circle. And I've definitely realized going through a lot of realizations of who my true friends are, who my true support system is, and wow, I really can lean on my family. Um, and I mean, it's scary, but it's so worth it because it opens the door to an extra set of hands to help you, an extra set of a brain to help you. And sometimes they can see things that you can't. And sometimes you're so wrapped in your own feelings and your own, like I'm very stubborn. And so sometimes I think my way or the highway. That is so not true. That is so false.
And sometimes you need people to tell you, hey, on this one, I think you're wrong, right?
Yeah.
And tell you like, no, I think you do have to do certain things. And it's like, if you know they truly care about you and are invested in you, you're like, oh wait, okay, hold on, let me take a step back and let me reevaluate my thought process here because at the time it's like, no, I know what I'm supposed to do. I know what's right. And then it's like, wait, I can't let my emotions get in my way either. right? And I have to be able to trust people that are giving me advice to for me to get better, right? And being open to that.
And a lot of people are going to have their say about your life, and a lot of people are going to have the say about your recovery and, oh, you're doing it wrong. But like, don't take criticism. Don't from, okay, let me get this phrase right because this is something that I also live by. Don't take criticism from people that you wouldn't take advice from. And I think that's really big.
Yeah, I mean, right? Because everyone's gonna tell you whatever they think is best, but like you have to really figure out for yourself, right? Along with the people you trust, like what is best for me, what's best for my
Mhm.
future, right? And so I think being able to step away from the situation and really trying to understand that and grasp what's going on, what's the reality, I think it's challenging, right, for most athletes that are going through injury.
Yeah.
But then, like I said, finding people that you can truly trust and not just people who are there on day one, like, oh yeah, do this, do that, do this, do that, you'll be fine. Well, okay, you were there the first day, and then I haven't heard from you since. Uh,
Yeah.
do you really care about me, or you just, and I get everyone's busy, right? And I understand that completely. But then it's like if you really meant a lot to someone, they should be reaching out to you on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
Oh. Um, talk a little bit. So, you have another Instagram page that you talk a lot about the real things that are going on. Do you want to share a little bit about that and what was the inspiration for starting that page?
Yeah. Um, I actually started it not too long ago. I want to say a couple weeks after my first surgery of this year. And I guess my end goal is to create a platform where I can hear other people's stories, just as what you're doing. I guess that was my first end goal. But now it's kind of morphed into um I wouldn't say my own therapy page, but it's describing what I'm going through so that other people can see that. And if they're going through the same thing, then they can relate to it and maybe understand it in a way that they weren't before. And I've had a lot of people message me, oh, I'm going through a knee replacement, or oh, I am having knee surgery. Like, I don't know what to do. And for people to have the courage to reach out to me, that's all I ever want because I've been through injury enough to have some say in it. And obviously, I'm not giving them clinical answers, right?
Right.
That's unethical.
Yep.
But what I'm doing is providing support to these people who feel that they have no one to talk to. So I'm putting myself out there with the goal and with the hope that people are reading it. Obviously, I have no idea if people are reading my page at all, but I don't care because at least if I get it out there, then someone else will feel less alone and someone else will read that and maybe take it to heart and maybe, oh, wow, I feel the same way. I didn't know that other people feel that way. Or maybe while I'm going through an ACL surgery, I need some advice. Like, what has gotten you? Like, I'm so open to communicating to everybody. And I guess that was my like big goal. That's my big goal right now. Kind of just to destigmatize talking about injuries and mental health and like you're not weak. You're going through something hard. Let's reframe the way that your brain thinks about it and be more supportive and empathetic to yourself. So that's my goal. And I hope that people are reading it, but I don't know. And I'm not expecting anyone to. I just think that some people could benefit from it.
I've read it. I love it, honestly. I think just being really open about recovery is not easy, right? And you're not always going to have good days. There's going to be days where you're struggling. There's going to be days where you don't want to do certain things. But to your point, where you said you're not the only one that's feeling this way, right? There's going to be, and I think a lot of people that are going through injuries have those same thoughts that are going through their mind, right? And then they're like, "Gosh, am I going to ever be able to play again? Am I ever going to be able to get healthy? Is this worth it? Should I just quit my sport and be done?" And
Yeah.
so, your page is very inspiring. I love just the honesty of it, though, right? Because I think most people only share the highlights, the good parts of of the recovery process. We know that's not what it is, right? There's ups, there's downs the whole time, right? I mean, there's gonna be days where you're ready to just, yeah, I just I don't want to play sports anymore. I'm done. I don't want to go to the gym today. I don't want to do my PT. I don't want to do my rehab. And that's the reality of it, all right? And that's going to be very real experience for a lot of people. So I think that's truly, I love that you're sharing that. There are going to be people that read it. I 100% know that. And it's going to inspire someone they're going to see your story and be like, oh yeah, I got to keep going. Like, I know it's hard today, but I got to keep going. So I say, keep doing, if that's something that you're enjoying doing, you have to keep doing that because you are going to inspire other people. You're going to connect with other people that are going through injuries, and you can be their inspiration. They're kind of, there's the light at the end of the tunnel, and you can almost like mentor them through that process as well.
Yeah.
Uh, so I love that page personally. I think it's awesome. I think it's really cool that you share everything that goes on and not just the good things. So I'm a huge fan of that.
Thank you. Because I mean, the good is only about this much sometimes, and sometimes the bad is about this big.
Yes.
And it's getting more and more prevalent, but it's still not talked about enough in the world or in the US or in the world. I don't know the statistics, but I know for a fact that it's still not talked about enough because it's such a problem. It's such a stigma. Like, it's so important to me. I don't like I'm so interested in this field. One, because I've been through it. I've been through like the highs and the lows, okay? But also because I've seen so many people struggle from it. And it's not fair that these people have to go through having to hide and other people don't. I don't know. I just it's really getting to me recently. So I hope that I really want to stay with it, and I know I will. Just posting recently has been a little rough. I've just had so much on my plate,
Mhm.
but it's something that I really want to keep doing.
Yeah, I mean that's the challenge. Like you said, life goes on, right? It doesn't stop for you just because you're hurt. It's life will keep lifing, right? You still got to go to work. You still got to go take classes. Like there's still a lot that's going on. So you have to figure out if there's when you do have time for that type of stuff to do. But I think if it's something that is important to you and something that you want to really try to make a difference, like I would encourage you to try to keep doing it. And I'm more than happy to help you, with that as well. I think there's a great opportunity to help kids out that are going through this process. They need mentorship, they need guidance, they need help, they need resources. So I definitely, would love to figure out a way to make that work as well.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And you do a lot of work on the mental health side as well, with the campus, but also just in general. Do you want to talk a little bit about like why you want, obviously we know why you want to do it, but talk a little bit about more about like the importance of mental health.
Well, it's so cliche, the saying "you are not alone," but I mean, there's a reason why these statements are said because there have been people that have been alone. I've had friends who quit their sport because they're pushed so to the ground and feel so isolated. And in my head, I thought, but you're so good. Why you get all these minutes? You're so good. How are you feeling like that? But that I have no idea what's going on. I have no frame of reference. I have no ability to speak on their behalf because I don't know what they're going through. But the fact that nobody knows what they're going through yet has so much to say on their experience, that's where I draw the line because there needs to be more of a movement towards helping people, right? And I know that there's therapists and I know that there's people to do certain jobs, but in the sports realm, there's people even in high level spaces, professional spaces. And I mean, there's Simone Biles, right? And she made a huge statement about how She
Yep.
doesn't feel able to perform, and yet so many people had something to say about it, and most of it was negative. What
Yes.
is that? I wish more people understood the level of pain that a mental block or that uh, sports psych like it's so I don't even know what to say. I'm getting so into this. Like
Yeah.
it is such a big issue that isn't being talked about enough. And you see it from high school, from even grade school up until the professional area. And that's a problem. And if people like why should we spare more people's experience? Why should more people have to suffer before we do something about it? And that's with anything in life. Like, why should more people have to suffer before we speak up about it? And I know I'm just one being, but if I can rally more people who then can rally more people, who then can rally more people, it turns into a big movement that gets more and more, um, I don't, popular, I guess. And
Yeah.
so that's kind of why I'm like, I'm so into this. I'm so supportive of bringing sports psychology into the public eye because why should more and more people have to suffer before we do something about it? That's so unfair. I don't it's such a big issue. I just
Yeah.
wish more people care or at least understood it. I feel like a lot of the problem is that like a lot of society doesn't necessarily understand it or they're being held in their own beliefs that are so closed in when really there's so much to learn about it,
Yeah.
but there's no education, there's no, I don't know, there's just not a lot of programs too. Like I'm looking to become a sports psychologist or a sports psychology consultant and there's barely any programs in the US. There is a very, I mean, there are, but it's not a lot.
Yeah.
And that's an issue in itself because how am I going to go into this field that only has about this much representation? There should be more representation. There should be more people wanting to do it, more people wanting to change the world. So I that's my big goal. That's kind of why I'm doing it.
I mean, right. Do you think Simone Biles, right? I mean, Olympian, very successful, obviously. And when she comes out about it, like I said, there's so many negative comments. Like, I just, it's so hard to believe that there's just that many negative comments about it. And it's frustrating, right? And seeing like, if she's going through that and she has access to resources financially,
Mhm.
and she still has that trouble. Like, what do you think is happening for everyone else, right? College athletes, high
Exactly.
school athletes who don't have millions of dollars like her to get, and yeah, the lack of resources of it. And I know there's resources out there. Like, don't get me wrong. I know there's resources out there, but like, it should be more easily accessible, readily accessible. And to your point, like, right, if they're not teaching it, and if you want to go into that profession, and there's not really anywhere I can go to get that. So how do we get into this then? How do we really try to help more people if it's just not even being offered?
Yeah. I've had a lot of trouble reaching out to people. I don't even know where to start. It's not widely talked about at my school, but there are a couple teachers who have been in that world that
Okay.
I have gotten to know, that I've gotten to understand where they came from and what their practice is. And so that's been a help. But what about the schools who don't talk about it and then who also look down upon those who need that sort of service, who need mental health services? What about those people who don't have a voice? Like, there are so many universities in the US that don't do anything in terms of supporting their athletes. And you see it with all these stories of, oh, I transferred and now I'm at a better place. But nobody should have to go through that. And just how you were saying, it's just so, it's hard to hear, it's hard to stomach sometimes.
Yeah, I think you're doing a great job of, trying to be a voice, right? But it's always how do we continue to grow this, how to continue to have that conversation with more and more people. Because a lot of people I talk to, yeah, they're, advocates of it, but it's like, how do we continue to share this? How do we continue to push this out there? Help change the narrative. Like I said, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to not feel your best, right? But you still can lean on certain people that can help you get through these tough times, right? And I think just being able to figure out how to share that message with more and more people, even like you said, having that page is awesome. But doing all the stuff that you're doing, though, just leading, by example for sure is really cool to see. Give me one piece of advice that you would give to an athlete that is going through an injury.
Oh wow, just one piece.
You can do
Um,
give me a couple things that you would tell someone that's going through an injury. Give me two or three things.
find out who your true group is. That's a really big one. Find out your true people, and it doesn't even have to be that big. It could be one person, two people, three people that you can confidently and truly say, I trust you enough to be vulnerable in front of you. But also, being injured is a time to learn about yourself. So I would also say that, like, you're going to go through a lot of self growth and self improvement, and that's okay. You may not be yourself when you come out of it. You may not be who you were before, but you'll be a better version because you went through something hard and you got through it. There is light at the end of the tunnel. It just, you have to do the hard work. I say you have to go through the hard to get the good. I constantly say that. You have to go through the bad to get the good. You have to dig through the trenches before you can get out and stand over where you just came from and be like, wow, I did that. It's hard work, but if you know that going into it, it makes it more attainable.
I love it. I love it. I thank you for that, right? I think it's really just figuring out, right? Like what are things that we can help tell people who are going through injuries to help them get through it. Obviously, it's one of the most one of the most difficult things that you're gonna have to do, all right, especially as a kid, as a young adult. So I mean, I just want to say thank you, right? Thank you for sharing your advice. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for the work that you do. Wish you the best of luck with your recovery, with your academics, with everything that you have going on with your life. I wish you the best of luck. I'm excited also to see, what you have coming forward, right? There's going to be some big things for you going forward. Excited to see that all play out. But again, I just want to say thank you for coming onto the podcast and sharing your story.
Thank you. I've really appreciated being here. I got really into this topic. I truly appreciate your ideas and this whole podcast. I love what you're doing.